Again, my name is Dick Kehoe. I'm a member here, and I've been here since for the last, say, 20 years or so. And this is the Ford-Faesch House. And the house was built, the house is about 247, 248 years old. It was built between 1770 and 1772. The builder was Jacob Ford Jr. of Morristown. He and his father were interested in iron ore and making of iron. And Mount Hope is a big resource of iron and iron ore. Jacob Ford Jr., as I said, built the house, and he built it for a man named John Jacob Faesch, who is from Switzerland. And he was brought over. He knew everything about iron making over in Switzerland and Germany and that area. And he was brought over to work up in southern New York State on the big furnaces up in there. And he had to be there for 7 years. He was like an indentured servant. He and his wife came over. They were given a house, and he was to supervise the upgrading of the iron manufacture up in southern New York State. After the 7 years was up, the Fords enticed him to come here. They built a house for him, and they worked out with the East Jersey proprietors who owned all of this property. He bought 6,280 acres. And it goes all the way up to Picatinny, over into White Meadow Lake, down to Dover, down to Rockaway, and back up that way quite far. Where are you from? You from Rockaway Township?
We've lived in Rockaway Township for 30 years.
Okay, and like what area? What area?
Oh, Circle Drive off Mount Road.
Oh, what? Mount Hope Road?
Right, Circle Drive.
Oh, Circle Drive,
We're
right
back.
down here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So, anyway, he owned Circle Drive. John Jacob Faesch. He owned Circle Drive. And at the time, you know where Old Middletown Road is? Okay, that was the original road to Mount Hope. When Faesch came up here in 1772 or 17, he came up Old Middletown Road. And still, if you go up and you go through a development up there, that's Snyder Drive and all like that in that area, you can still find bits of the road back in there. Or maybe a half mile, maybe a mile of the road back in there. So that road really dates back. You're standing right now in the living room of the Forde-Faesch House. You can see the old lath. See the lath up in here? Well, we determined that's original lath. And what that does is space between the board. They put the plaster on, and the plaster sinks in between the boards and blocks the plaster, so the plaster doesn't fall off. So we feel that's original plaster there. This is a modern fireplace. The beams had to be, there was no floor. This house was let go for about 15 years. The owner was the mine. The owner was Hailcrest before Tilcon. And he didn't have anybody in here. So it developed holes in the ceiling, water was in. But now we fixed all that. We put a new floor. We sistered on, they're the original beams. And we sistered on new beams to carry it. This is a modern, like I say, a modern fireplace. I had a friend that was here. I grew up about half a mile down the road. So I had a friend who lived here from I visited him from 1946 till 1953 till he left.
This house was occupied by 1953?
It was like the
This house was
70s.
occupied
Oh, really?
from 1772 when it was built to 1978. And at that time when I would come up, it was a two-family home. One family over there and then this family here on this side. Like I say, this was the living room. And you can't imagine, you look at it now, gee, it looks terrible. But when I was coming up here, you know, the rugs on the floor, everything was painted nice furniture. You wouldn't believe it. So this is a modern fire. This is one of the modern fireplaces. Probably put in the 20s or 30s. It was a two-family house after 1930. That's when they converted it. It was a rooming house at one time. We found upstairs in the attic, where they had a potbelly stove.
You know,
And men would work up there, workers in the mine would work up in there. So we go through here. That's the original pantry,
saw that.
original doors. The face where we keep junk in there.
Oh,
I won't open it. These are, we think these beams came from another part of the house. In 1869, they ripped off the far attachment over in there. So we think that these beams came from there. You notice that they're beaded on the side, you can see. We never knew this fireplace was here. It was all walled off when the two families lived here. So we ripped it out and we got a fireplace. Now we've got a chimney, we built a new chimney, put in a new hearth. A lot of the, we have to put on some lights. That's better. Not much. Some of the utensils in here were both built by a local mason, carpenter, what was he?
blacksmith or?
Blacksmith, thank you. So, but the fireplace was all redone and everything, and it is capable of fire. We can have fire. Well, except we don't have water up here yet. So when we get water, they'll have, they do have demonstrations already, and they talk about. Over in the corner there, that's a rope bed. And did you ever hear the sign saying, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite? Well, sleep tight meant to pull the ropes tight. So they were nice and firm, they weren't saggy like here. And they usually slept on mattress stuffed with straw from the outside. What do you have? It's straw sometimes, but you have bugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they were the bed bugs, so sleep tight. And don't let the bed bugs bite.
Is this bed original?
No, this was made by one of the men here.
But it's to make it look like.
Yeah, it's similar to
Represents
what
what
it
they
was.
were.
Now, through that door, which they don't allow anybody, but up in here, there's a wall. And they believe in the day of Faesch that the kitchen help slept in the wall. And no one could enter the house. You came in this way, the people slept out there. If there was 2 or 3 of them, they had a house out there. They came through the door here, and that's as far as they got. Only one servant was allowed in the house. And one servant or a cook upstairs in the loft.
Is that a well?
Rebuild, as part of his trade, rebuild the, did a nice job. This is a door. Well, this is like a pantry in here. And they decorated it pretty well. That's new, that's not. This goes into the basement, which we're not allowed to go.
Yeah, now that would be.
Yeah.
I hate basements in general, so I can only.
Was this? This wasn't always closed off, was it? Because I'm pretty certain I've gone up there.
Yeah, we would take people off there.
What is it like?
But it's very steep steps
Yeah,
going
I think
up.
years ago I was up there.
Yeah, I think there's a smokehouse. And
Almost like they used to.
now we use this as a meeting room. What Faesch uses this as a dining room. Here is a fireplace liner. Oh, we'll point them out in the other rooms. But they line the side of the fireplace, the back of the fireplace, to protect the brick from the heat here. Also, there's a contraption that we believe Faesch used. That, say he had a fire going and he wanted a pot of water for tea or something, he could fix this contraption. It was a wire contraption, so he could lower it right over the flame and bring it up to different levels. Well, you notice all the windows. Well, let me ask you, why do you think you have the window, and why is the woodwork wider than the window? Anybody know?
The depth of the stone for that house?
Pardon?
The depth of the stone on the outside?
It lets more light in.
Oh,
And you'll notice that it's even more in some of the rooms. We'll use this as a meeting room here. Well, all the floors have been covered up. The original floors are under here. And we covered them all up with plywood. They'll be removed someday when they finish the house. We'll go over into here.
I only want to be upstairs, I think. Another tricorder shot.
Remember in the other room, I talked about the big piece of iron that we showed you? Here's a furnace back in here, and that piece would go right here. And all the fireplaces in the house we think about in the 1890s were closed up. They put a pot belly stove right here, and then they went out the chimney that way. So pot belly stove delivered more heat.
These are pin cushions, and we made them metal and kept their pins from rusting, because metal items back then were kind of hard to come by, so your pins and your needles were precious. So we stuffed them with sheep's wool just like they did. Hi Doug.
I do.
You don't know me, but I know you. I
Okay.
work for the town. You're a legend.
Back where the store is, and the sitting room will be out through here, like this. And you remember I talked about the furnace backs?
Yeah.
There's a side piece there. The other pieces are missing.
were these all covered up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were all filled in across, and we took air hammers and chiseled them out. Really did a lot of custom. This is from the fireplace. This is the original mantel from the fireplace in the kitchen. This would be up this way, and there's the other piece the contractors took them out for. So this would be like a sitting room. And we'll go into the next room.
The West Wing.
This is our new West Wing.
This is the part they just built.
The only reason I know that
Those lights are just white.
Rumpelstiltskin.
This is the new West Wing, was just completed last year.
Yeah, so they were doing this
And
one.
the stonework, they did really nice job.
Yeah, they did.
It looks nice. They had to travel around 3 or 4 places to find stone that was suitable to do the job. But we have a loft above it, so someday we'll get up into the loft. But, we have a little decorated now. They want to expand it so they have a little kitchen, a little restroom, and a meeting room. Well, I don't agree with that, but.
Yeah.
But this is now, the house is returned to the way it originally was.
So this was really a room originally, it wasn't,
The original house had a room like this.
Right.
Now, what this room was at the time of Faesch, he had a clerk sit in here that did everyday business. And you would enter, you would do your business with the clerk. If you wanted to go in and see Faesch and he was available, you had to go past the clerk. You had to get special permission to go into the next room and sit there and wait for Faesch to come out and talk to you. So, he was very strict. He was what they call an iron master. So he was, I don't think he was a very nice man. So. Oh, these are chairs. We have one of the owners here. Can you sit in that chair? Can you sit in that chair? It won't fall over.
Are you sure?
No. I'll hold it.
I'll do it.
No, you're sitting wrong. By the way, put your legs over.
Yeah, you just sit front, yeah. So that used to be like
I'll lean back.
It's comfortable.
It's comfortable. Very comfortable chair. And they're chairs.
As you.
We got
Uncomfortable.
one of the men here made those chairs. We have them every once in a while. There's another one over there.
Are these like the chairs they made back
He
then?
could have been, yeah. That might have been chairs. That's in there.
Looks comfy. Can I try it?
Do I have a splinter in my thigh now?
I'll try.
Oh, that's
Yeah, it is nice.
comfy.
It's like a little lounge chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this took about a year to build. And we have a full basement underneath it. And a lot of money. We have different pictures of the mines and stuff like this. Of course, over here, you know that this is the Mount Hope mine. It's over in the Rockaway. And the Mount Hope mine is 2,630 feet deep. Straight shaft going all the way down. Concrete lines, steel reinforced. And it has about 6 levels, like 1,000-foot level, 1,500, 1,700, 2,000, 2,200. There's the Beach Glen mine is over by Hibernian. The brown shaft is right up in the back here. But it shows different equipment that they would use in the mine.
That would be even more scary. You don't know what you would find down there.
But you
Oh
see,
my God.
you see what
I know. Is that in
someone was in there, didn't you?
That scared you?
You see these baskets over here? Well, they were in the change house for, say, the Mount Hope mine. And when the miners came into work with their good clothes on, they would lower the basket, take off and remove their mining clothes on the hooks and everything like this, and then they would put their shoes and their good clothes back on and raise to the top of the roof. Same thing when they came up out of the mine, dirty and all wet. They would hang everything on the basket and raise it to the ceiling where it would dry. This is examples. This is called bench mining, or so. They did really find this basket, this panel down in the mine. So, and it's with Morristown Heritage Commission right now. They have it stored in water. It was found in water, so they're stored in water in a big drum. And they show you different mining methods and stuff. Any questions about this?
No.
No?
That actually sounds like I don't know, that seems like it might actually be good pay.
Different levels to let them in off to go to their work areas.
Do they know how long it would take to get down all the way?
Very
to the
fast.
police? Really?
I've
Is
had
it
miners tell me when they dropped that skip, he said your feet would come off the floor almost in the
Wow,
room. It
that's
just went down, they had a hold on it.
It's coming up that would be the tough part.
Well, yeah.
But they would bring ore up on another skip, and then of course they had the emergency shaft that they go through.
Only 26.
Now my grandfather, my great-grandfather, a lot of my uncles and aunts, they worked in, not aunts, but my uncles worked in the mine. They worked here at Mount Hope, they worked over in Tebow, over in the Mount Hope Historic Park. They came here on the Kehoe side, my great-grandparents came here in 1868. And they moved into the Tebow mine housing. So there's always been Kehoes in Rockaway Township. Now there's one left. I don't even live in Rockaway Township.
Are those?
Okay, we got no questions?
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Are those like actual old shoes?
Yes,
Oh.
somebody's old shooter too in there. And they would hang their wet clothes on the hooks at the end of the day. So we'll go into here.
How much would a house like this cost?
Faesch paid around, well, they bought it in gold and silver, I think. But they converted the gold and silver to like this. So it was $280,000 he paid for the house, plus 6,280 acres. He bought it for Circle Drive. Now, well, my job in the society is I look up old property deeds. And I can take an old property deed, and a lot of times I can put it on a tax map, a map of the township, and showing property lines. and it'll match. Very good. One that matches very well is Middletown. You know where Middletown is up in here. Those property lines, that was lot 10 in the Mount Hope tract. When they sold the tract, Faesch fell into debt and he died, and all his people who he owed money to come after him, even took it to the New Jersey Supreme Court, and they decided to break up the tract, and they numbered each piece of property.
Sold them off.
Like in the Rockaway Town Square Mall is on, that's about four parcels of land in there. They sold for $275 an acre. And probably Circle Drive and that area, I want to say something else about Circle Drive, but Circle Drive, they probably that went for about the same thing. So if you live in Circle Drive, you paid more than $275. Anyway, also from Mount Hope, over here by the mine, in 1857, they had a gravity railroad that went down and crossed near, well, no, it was a little bit east of Circle Drive. But the gravity railroad went 3.5 miles down to Rockaway. And they coast down with 8 to 10 small cars of ore to go to the canal. And then down at the canal there was a big loop, an elevated loop. They dump off the ore, and at night they pull it back by mule.
Wow.
So, and you know where it crossed? I'm trying to think. You know, as you go on Old Middletown Road, and you go out there, and you make a couple turns. You don't go through the development, but you sort of bear right, and you get down into like a lower area. And if you look to the side, I think it's Crestmont. If you look to the side, there's all rocks in there. There was something in there. Well, anyway, that's where the gravity railroad crossed right through there. So. Any questions? Anything else? Okay, come on, we'll go. Keep moving. Let's go this way.
Mine railroad.
It's a big room.
So we can go and look at these.
Well, we just put a new floor in there. When they put the west wing on, this floor was a little out of whack. So we put a brand new floor in here. And the windows again have the wide openings. And the fireplace again has the fireplace backs. Here's a back here, back in there. When they did the room, they replaced a lot of boards, but right here, there was a big burn mark, right in here. And they think that one time to get the fire started, they might use oil, a little oil, they would throw on the wood or kerosene. Well, a lot of times they dripped it on the floor. They think a hot coal might have came out and put a big burn mark in the floor. This would have been Faesch's bedroom. This is where he...
And that's closet?
Yeah, maybe that's his closet. I imagine it's been all refixed. This, when they ripped off the wing outside, they put below us down in here where we went through that entrance to go into the new wing. There was a bow window. And they didn't adequately support the bow window, so over the years it developed a big crack. So they had to rip down the whole wall. They numbered the stones, laid them out on the floor, and then reassembled them.
There's a wasp right there.
What is it?
There's a wasp right there.
A wasp.
Yeah, looking for a place to make a nest.
Oh, please don't sting me again.
Here we go across the hall. This small room right here, we don't really know what it was, and they do a lot of guessing. But, I've seen in other homes, that would be Faesch's bedroom. So when Faesch had small children, the children were babies, the wife would stay in here with the baby. not the distilled finish. We all have it like that today. But we have, just so we use it for storage and stuff. Then we'll go right here.
Something's loose. Because it just feels so.
Again, we have original beams up there. They've been supported with different things. This would have been a children's bedroom. Faesch has 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. That's George Washington.
What do you think that is, Mr. Rebo?
And of course, this is a modern fireplace like down below.
Yeah.
Mom, he just looked
Now,
at it.
when I came here in the 1950s, this was the boy I visited. This was his grandparents here, lived in this house, and they were able to live in this house because there was a mining store right down, a building right down there. There was a mining store and a mining office. So, since he and the grandfather ran the store. So since he ran the store, he was given half a house. This is the other half of the house over here.
Did they have central heating at that time? Did they have a furnace in?
Radiators, yeah. We took out a fireplace in the basement, or not a fireplace, but a furnace in the
Yeah.
basement.
What kind of roof do you have on it now?
On the asphalt roof. They put on, in the 90s, you're gonna need a new roof pretty soon. It's been more than 20 years, or I hope they put 30 years in on.
What originally would have been on, do you know?
I know, it's probably slate.
Yeah.
We'll go into the next one here.
Yeah, water does a lot of damage.
It's amazing how far it's come.
Yeah.
I think a smokehouse up there.
Here's a tile. Here's a tile right here.
Even where they can't
That's original to the house.
Oh.
It was all throughout the house, in Faesch's office.
Oh, the
I
tiles?
forgot to show you, but there's a little piece, you can hardly see it. But that's the original tile, you can see there's no one here.
That's
I
pretty
guess
cool.
they was
Yeah.
walking to school back then.
200 years.
Is that peacock?
Yeah.
And the tiles went all the way around, a lot of places in the room. Now, when I came here in the 50s, when I came here in the 1950s, right over here, that was a bathroom. See the different colored boards? Right in here, it was a bathroom, well, probably over in here. This was my friend's bedroom right here. And right here, there was bunk beds. He was the only child. He was the only child. So I slept with my 3 brothers and he had a bunk bed so. But anyway, these were bunk beds right through here. There was tile on the floor, wallpaper on the walls. The ceiling was painted nice, everything. The closet was being used. I remember the fireplace being there. And right over here, there was a doorway. And the area over the kitchen, the loft over the kitchen was about 4 feet high. So you went out, you went down 2 steps, and you could go into a bedroom. And then other steps down into the kitchen. Now what they did, it wasn't original to the house. They did that in about 1880. They raised the roof, and they actually, you know how you tell a carpenter today or contractor, I want to raise the roof. He tears the roof all off and rebuilds it. In those days, they lowered the roof.
Yeah.
They took the original roof and just dropped it 3 or 4 feet. So, but it was, and that's what they did here. They just raised it up in here. So. Now, iron ore was discovered. I usually have a piece up here, but we'll have to find it. And I always say I'm going to bring a magnet. It's called magnetite. I don't have a magnet, but a magnet will stick right on it. You hardly can get them off. You got a chance. Who's got 2 free hands? You got 2 free? You got 2 free hands?
Now I do.
You can hold that.
Whoa, that's
I
heavy.
got it. You got it?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, that's heavy.
So that's iron ore.
No, Nathan, no.
That's about 65% iron ore.
Let me try that.
It's heavy. It's more heavier than, it's more heavy than the cooler, I think.
So this is what they find here at Mount Hope. And in the whole area here, Hibernia, Mount Hope, Richmond, Cheetah. Now, this ore would be taken further. They built what they call a blast furnace, a colonial blast furnace, operated on water, had a big water wheel. That drove air into the furnace, had to be built up against the hill so they could put iron ore, charcoal, and limestone on the side. They were the ingredients to go in the furnace. The limestone or charcoal burned twice as hot as wood. You could get a pile of wood, you light it on fire, burn 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But you get a pile of charcoal, it burns 2,000, 2,200 degrees. So that was enough to melt this iron ore. And then they would run it out into patterns in the sand, and they were called pigs. So yeah, that's where the name pig iron came from.
Is that an original mirror?
No. Well, you can see this mirror, there's no one, this mirror is opposite the fireplace. So it reflected the light from the fireplace, plus the heat. The heat would radiate out, hit the mirror, and come back in. Well, most of these are original floors all throughout.
That seems like old wood. Is that from the 1700s?
Yeah, that's
Not the fireplace.
all the
Yeah, I
trim on the
know. I
fireplace.
was just asking about this.
But this was a plantation. I should have brought my posters, but in 1814 it was sold. They sold it, and in about 2009 or 1809, a man from New York State bought it. He made a lot of improvements, and he sold it in about 1814, 1816. And we have the advertisement from the New York newspaper, or he advertised it for sale. He ran 400 sheep up here. He had 300 or 400 acres of hay that he would do, numerous apple orchards and fruit orchards. So it was quite a place, you know. We called the iron plantation, the Mount Hope Iron Plantation. And these little blocks here, I don't know what they're for, I'll tell you honestly. I don't know what they're for. And I told you that there's a smokehouse in the attic, and you can't go up and see it. Also, there was always the thing told that they had an escape tunnel in the basement.
It goes over to the church.
Pardon?
It goes over that church over
It
there.
goes towards the church, yeah.
Right.
And I've had,
church, or the church is not,
That's Morris County, that's not,
oh, it
yeah, that's county church. Yeah.
Are they keeping it up or anything, or is it?
Oh, no, they secured it. Put a new roof on it, painted the outside, fixed up the windows, so it's secure against the weather. Someday I heard that, do you know how the Mount Hope Historical Park is out that way? They're going to extend the Mount Hope, so they have already, to Mount Hope Pond. It comes right down there. They're going to extend it across and take in the church. And use the church as like a point of demonstration, speeches and stuff like this, and then they'll incorporate the Faesch House. So they have the Faesch House, the church, and now, see the pile of wood up here? See that pile of wood? That's our version of a charcoal pit. There's a lot of sun up there. But if you were brave, we could walk the charcoal pit. You don't have to go. We'd explain the quarry and how charcoal.
That's it.
I'll explain it in a minute. If you go, that's the Tilcon rock quarry over there.
Yeah.
And sort of the gray building with the windows out. That's the Mount Hope mine. That's the new Leonard shaft. That was put there in 1942, 1940s. And that's the shaft that goes down 2,630 feet. That's what's left of it. It closed in 1978.
You just dig that out with pickaxes?
Well, no, they had a, well, it was done in the 40s. So they had, they had a company who came in and dug it for them. Yeah, it has 6 or 7 levels. I mean, you're probably standing on an enormous cavern about 1,000 feet down in the ground. They tell me that you could hit a baseball. You know how you used to hit baseball, hit them up high? You couldn't reach the ceiling of the caverns. Wow. They were so high, 300-400 feet high.
That's crazy.
It was iron ore. They took the iron ore out. The lake out there, that's what I call Beaver Dam. It's called Mill Pond now. That was put there in the 40s. The mine. Now the original iron ore was up over that way, about three quarters of a mile. It was a big arm of iron ore, pure iron ore, that came up out of the ground, about 50 foot high and 150 to 200 feet long, came up and just plunged back in the ground. So it belonged to the East Jersey proprietors, but up until the time Faesch bought it, or Ford's bought it, you know, and it was like free for the taking. They say by the time Faesch got here, it was discovered in 1710, but by the time Faesch got here in 1772, it was level with the ground. They had taken so much iron out. But they would take it down to not furnaces, but forges in Whippany and stuff like that. Take it down on horseback and take it down the old Middletown Road.
So how does the coal thing work?
Okay. Blast furnace that Faesch built on the other side of the road was about 24 feet high. And what they would put in the blast furnace was charcoal, iron ore, and lime. The charcoal was the heat. Charcoal, like I said before, burns about 2,000, 2,200 feet, or 22 degrees hot. So that was enough. Was a chemical reaction to melt the iron. The limestone was the mop. That gathered all the impurities together, and they would rake it off the top. Actually, I got these just saying. This is called slag.
So it would absorb all this stuff and they would just scoop it off the top?
Right. Well, it would
Like
float
skim
on
it?
the top.
Oh,
The
yeah.
iron being heavy would drop to the bottom of the furnace. This would float on the top. And they had what they call, up above, they had a cinder notch. So it was a sliding stone. They pull out the stone and they could look in there and they could see when the furnace was pretty full of iron, melted iron, this stuff was floating on top. They could see it and they reach in there with a big hook and pull it out and throw it on the ground. It's not good for any. I had a piece that had a piece of charcoal in it, but this doesn't. And where we got this was from the floor of the kitchen. They put a new floor in the kitchen and they dug down so that they could pour old concrete, make it permanent. And they found all this in the bottom. So, and they just took it out of the furnace over there and it was filling the bottom. They also found coins 1818, 1825 in the floor first. And this is a piece of charcoal. This is what, a little smaller than this maybe, but this is what they would use in the furnace. It burns twice as hot as wood. 2,000, 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit. Wood burns 1,000 degrees. Now, all the trees you see over there across the pond, what they would do, first of all, the charcoal pit shouldn't be up here, it should be down on the flat, on the level area. And wood choppers would come in and chop down all the trees. They used every bit of the tree. They'd knock them all down. Then they would put them on a sled type thing. It didn't have wheels on it. It was like a sled with high sides. And they, with mules and oxen, they would pull it into the site. And they would cut the wood about 5 foot high, about like that. And it would be 5 to 6, 7 inches in diameter. They would bring it in here and they would drop the wood all around where the collier, that's who ran the charcoal pit. He had 3 or 4 helpers and he would start stacking up the wood. Now, he would build this one and then down there he had another one. He'd have 3 or 4 going all at once, the collier. Now just, you gotta bear with me, you gotta come in. Well, maybe you can see it from there. You can see we got one layer. Now, if it was 5 foot, it'd be up a little higher. But he'd lay all this, well, first thing he would do was take that long pole, and that pole went up about 12, 16 feet. He'd drive it into the ground, maybe 6 or 8 inches. Then he would build what they called a chimney. This wood going around here, corner pieces, he'd build that up around. So he'd build that so he kept it straight. And then he'd start laying in his wood all the way around. Now this, he'd build it so wide that it went over to the wall and it went up the hill a little bit. They were 25 to 30 feet in diameter, these big pits. They held about 8 cords of wood. And then he'd put another layer of wood up here, and then with the branches and everything, smaller pieces of wood, he'd dome it over. So it looked like a big igloo out of wood. Then what he would do, after it was all finished, he'd lay on charcoal dust. It was left over from the charcoal. That was, the site would be used 2 or 3 years. So he'd dump charcoal dust all over it, and then he would cover it with leaves. The whole thing with leaves. And then the night before he was going to light it, the night before, after his supper, he'd climb up on the top and take hot coals from his supper. And he'd drop down the chimney. Now just before that, he filled up the chimney with small pieces of wood kindling. So the hot coals would burn all the way down to the bottom, and that's where he wanted his fire to start, in the bottom and spread out. And he would watch it day and night for up to 2 weeks. It would burn. And he could tell it was finished because the leaves on the outside charred. They became blackened. And then he would rake it out very easy, carefully. It didn't, because if he opened it up too fast, air got into it, the whole thing would ignite. And they'd load it on wagons and they would take it to the furnaces, to forges, bloomery forges. And they also sold it in the houses too, because the warm rooms or maybe even cook, they used charcoal. But it was big industry because it had wood choppers, teamsters that brought it to the site and took the charcoal away from the site, colliers and helpers. So it was big industry in those days. So on Circle Drive, probably it had no wood here so many years ago when they were burning it. Actually, what happened, they ran out of wood. They burned so much. And then the coal came in around 1815, 1820. And they used coal in the furnaces. Iron ore was first mined around the hill here. This is Mount Hope, by the way. Right here, this is Mount all the way up from Norway. And there's like a valley over there on the side, and that's where they first mined iron ore, was over there.